I did report on many tragedies and big news stories that happened in Yorkshire, but I suppose the biggest news story I was involved in was not even in Yorkshire, and it was the Brighton bomb.
He was actually sitting in the Grand Hotel when the bomb went off, and having gone down there just to have a rather good time and have a few drinks, be in party mood in fact, he found himself right at the centre of one of the major stories of the decade. And of course, he acquitted himself with great journalistic honour. Sod him, he got the best story, and I'd gone home.
Well, it's now just about a couple of hours after this blast has ripped out the front there of the Grand Hotel. You can see the floors there ripped apart, the top floor and right down to about the second floor, just sliced out. I was actually standing in the foyer of the hotel at about 5 to 3. I'd actually just been talking to a group of delegates from Bradford.
A second bigger bang, and that threw me on the floor, and I fell to the floor in slow motion. I just felt crumpling up in slow motion against the oh-so-soft carpet. And I noticed, actually, they'd had a new carpet in the Grand Hotel since I was there last year, and crumpled up on the carpet in slow motion. And then the third noise. So I thought, 3 bombs, that's it. And yes, I did have the life running past me. And then I thought, Mrs. Thatcher's upstairs. They can't get Mrs. Thatcher. They wouldn't do. This can't happen. So with my dying thoughts were, first of me not having a bad life, and B, the thought of Mrs. Thatcher. If that doesn't get me a knighthood, nothing will, and it didn't seem to work. I've interviewed every Prime Minister since Wilson, although I did interview Alec Douglas-Home, but that was after he'd resigned as Prime Minister. So yes, I have interviewed all the Prime Ministers. When I interviewed Mrs. Thatcher the first time, she was Leader of the Opposition, and we did a sort of person-to-person interview about the woman behind the image. And I go hot and cold now, but I asked her. I somehow found out that she was the second Mrs. Thatcher, that Dennis Thatcher had been married before.
It was an electrifying moment, and she responded. She responded brilliantly to it. Another great coup for irritating old Richard Whiteley.
Can I just ask you this? When you did marry Dennis Thatcher, it wasn't widely known at the time, and it wasn't really known until fairly late, actually, till about 25 years later, that he'd been married before. Why did you feel that was a good idea to keep it secret?
But one didn't. One just wasn't asked. And you don't go about saying, look, my husband's been married before.
There was an explosion. I mean, outrage and everything. And Gordon Rees, who was her PR man, said, this will have to be cut, this can't be taken on, this mustn't go out.
Both Paul Fox and yours truly were off Mrs. Thatcher's Christmas card list for quite some time after that.
The last words Gordon Rees said as he left Yorkshire Television with her, he said, she will never come back here again.
What was Richard like as a political interviewer?
Hopeless.
On the Monday night, as it came to that conclusion, and the total going up and up, I remember saying, come on, the only way is up. And every time we pressed the button, up went the total. It was magic, it was magic. And then finally, the final total, when that was revealed, it was just a most wonderful moment. And I'll never forget that.
Thank you. £2,247,721.
Some American telephone experts, they said, you'll have a great feeling. He said, you'll feel great when it ends. And you'll go to bed feeling great, but the next day you'll feel as depressed as you've ever been in your life. And it was true. It's a great high, the highest high I've ever had. And also afterwards, the lowest low I've ever had. Amazing.
I remember many years later, maybe I was at a dentist or a doctor's or something, and I just turned on the television, and there was Countdown, and there was Richard, and I was completely dumbfounded.
Hello, good evening, and as the countdown to a brand new channel ends, a brand new countdown begins.
The countdown years have just flown by, those 21 years, and what started as just a 4-week experiment, really, just a commission just for the 4 weeks, has grown into 21 years. Had the same hairstyle for 40 years. Can't do with dull ties. The jackets are, sadly they're all, I'm afraid, made overseas. Well, one or two have been tailored in Yorkshire, but I try and, this one was handmade in Yorkshire, and it's Yorkshire cloth, so I do try and keep the faith.
After a little bit of time, I started to make jokes about his jackets, and he didn't like it at all. He used to pull me to one side and tell me off. I don't think it's appropriate that you should make comments about my clothing. And I just burst out laughing, you see, because I thought it was hysterically funny.
She really got on my nerves in those early days, because I was having to keep the whole programme going, and you've got this, and what's you, and what's the score, doing all this, having to keep it going. All she did was work out the numbers. That was her only job at the time. And I could see her from the corner of my eye in the studio, sitting on a stool and doing all that and laughing with the technicians and all the crew.
After a couple of years of getting used to each other, I was more like his little sister. And then as time progressed, I've become like a kind of, strangely, an older sister to him, like a big sister, because he's become more infantile as he is gone on.
She never knows what I'm going to throw at her. She's got a great sense of humour. She teases me remorselessly. According to her, I've got no bottom, I wear a wig, I'm totally confused, I'm on another planet. Is there sexual chemistry between us? Well, yes, if there is, we're using different chemistry sets, all this kind of thing. But actually, we're great pals and great mates, and I think it works very well.
Happy birthday!
People will talk.
Richard and Carol's relationship is they are TV husband and wife, which sometimes is slightly annoying for me because people always call me Carol.
He did win an award. He went to the Chelsea Flower Show this year in May, and he ran naked through the main marquee. Yes. And he won first prize for the best dried arrangement.
I absolutely love being on Countdown. I tried for years to get onto Countdown. I changed agents even to try and get onto Countdown and still failed miserably. And I tell you what, it's no lie, it's one of the highlights of my year to get called to come up on Countdown. It's like a great family.
Can you please, I know that people like coughing on quiz shows, but if you were going to cough, can you please not cough when I'm speaking? I've had letters which I've received which have just said Dick, England. And, you know, they've arrived. And the post office has put, try R. Whiteley, Yorkshire TV. So I've had Dick, England, which does surprise me. I've had one that said Dick Head, England, which surprised me a little less because they got here. And then I've had one that said First Class Dick, England, which has also arrived. So I just say, aren't our post office wonderful?
He said to me once, he said, look, could you ever sort of big up my personality? Well, I said, there's very little people can do about your personality, Richard. He said, no, but if you do something. So I said, OK, I'll try and portray you as a sex god. He said, yeah, because I am, aren't I? And I said, no, you're not. You're a total failure. However, I shall tell the public that you are twice nightly Whiteley.
I think Richard loves it. I think he loves it. This is his image of himself. You know, Richard is the hail fellow well met. You know, he manages to be a great man with the boys, and he loves the boys to think that he's off for a night with the girls, and probably more than one, or certainly more than once.
I think he's quite handsome. You know, you want to give him a love and a big kiss or something, do you know what I mean? I think it's just his way, his manner.
He's absolutely devastating to women. You take Richard to a party, even down in, say, Sloane Square, or, you know, where they're all a bit toffee-nosed. And he gets to the party, and within minutes, he's talking to them all. He's got them all wrapped round his little finger. You can never get him away.
Of course, I